Putting Tara in the field is a mistake. She is not a trained agent.
Yes, well, she fooled Ho, didn't she?
Well, anyone can fool Ho.
From the very beginning, Slow Horses has made one thing painfully clear. MI5 is a mess. Behind the sleek walls of British intelligence, chaos, corruption, and incompetence reign supreme. And in Season 5, that dysfunction hits its peak. Apple TV's darkly comedic spy drama dives deep into the world of espionage, betrayal, and bureaucratic madness, showing us that sometimes the biggest threat to national security isn't a terrorist or foreign operative. It's the people running the agency itself. In this breakdown, we're taking a closer look at MI5's leadership, specifically the rise of Claude Whelan and the unstoppable force that is Diana Taverner. Why is MI5 collapsing under its own leadership? How did Whelan, a man so clearly unfit for the job, end up at the top? And why is Diana Taverner the only one truly capable of keeping the agency from imploding? Let's break down the real power struggle inside Slow Horses and what it means for the future of the series. When Slow Horses began back in 2022, MI5 was under the rule of Ingrid Tierney, the elusive and authoritative figure at the top of the organization. Tierney's leadership, however, always felt distant. She was more concerned with political maneuvering and public appearances than actually running the agency. That left the heavy lifting to her second-in-command, Diana Taverner, known as the Second Desk. Taverner might not have been the official head of MI5, but make no mistake, she was the one really pulling the strings. I fast forward to Season 4, and the hierarchy shifts dramatically. Ingrid Tierney suddenly exits, paving the way for Claude Whelan to take over as the new First Desk, the official head of MI5. On paper, this looked like a fresh start for the agency. Whelan came in promising a new era of transparency, accountability, and moral integrity. For a moment, it seemed like MI5 might finally step into a more ethical light. But as we soon see, those promises were nothing more than empty words. Claude Whelan quickly proves to be one of the most incompetent leaders MI5 has ever had. His vision of reform collapses almost immediately under the weight of his own fear and indecision. Whelan wants to appear principled, but when real crises hit, when moral choices have real consequences, he caves. His instinct is always to protect himself, not the agency. Every decision he makes is driven by career preservation, not leadership. And that's the real tragedy of Whelan's character. He doesn't believe in anything. He came into MI5's top office full of ideals, but the second those ideals were tested, he abandoned them. In the ruthless world of espionage, where every move is a gamble and every word can cost lives, that kind of weakness is fatal. The series subtly paints him as a man out of his depth, someone who climbed the ladder because of his connections, not his competence. His relationship with members of government helped him secure the role, but once he got there, it became painfully clear. Claude Whelan isn't a leader, he's a bureaucrat pretending to be one. In every episode, we see how this incompetence ripples through MI5. He lacks the intelligence and instinct required to lead an organization that thrives on secret strategy and split-second decisions. He's not clever, he's not insightful, and he's certainly not stealthy. Worse yet, agents from Slough House, the rejects and failures of MI5, repeatedly outsmart and outmaneuver him. The so-called losers of British intelligence end up being more capable than the man sitting at the top of the chain of command. This is where the genius of Slow Horses really shines. The show has always been about the absurdity of power, how the people who mess up get promoted, while the ones who actually know what they're doing get shoved into the basement. Claude Whelan is the embodiment of that broken system. He's MI5's greatest irony. The man who wanted to fix the organization ends up becoming its biggest problem. And while Whelan's floundering around trying to look in control, there's one person quietly keeping MI5 afloat, Diana Taverner. Now, let's be honest, Diana isn't exactly likable. She's ambitious, manipulative, and ruthlessly self-serving. But here's the thing. She's also competent. In a world filled with political egos and power-hungry fools, competence is rare, and Taverner has it in spades. She's been effectively running MI5 for years, even when she wasn't officially in charge. From Tierney's distracted tenure to Whelan's disastrous reign, she's been the one actually making the tough calls. Taverner's strength lies in her pragmatism. She doesn't play by moral rules. She plays to win. And in the spy world, that's exactly what you need. She's strategic, calculating, and always 5 steps ahead of everyone else. While Whelan is worrying about political optics, Taverner is pulling strings, cutting deals, and managing the chaos that keeps MI5 functioning. She's not perfect, but she gets the job done. And that's what leadership looks like in Slow Horse's morally gray universe. What makes Diana so fascinating is that she's both the villain and the hero of MI5. She's unlikable, sure, but she's necessary. The show cleverly positions her as the only person capable of leading the agency, even though she's also the most dangerous one to hold that much power. Her ambition is undeniable. She's wanted the first desk position for a long time, but the higher-ups never gave her the official title. Probably because they fear her, and maybe they should. Because if Taverner ever did take full control, MI5 would become leaner, sharper, and far more efficient, but also far more ruthless. Still, compared to Claude Whelan, she's a powerhouse. He spends his time trying to look good. She spends her time actually doing the work. She's willing to get her hands dirty. He's afraid of a little mud. That's the fundamental difference between them. One is a politician, the other is a strategist. And what makes this even more interesting is her dynamic with Jackson Lamb. Lamb, the head of Slough House, might seem like Taverner's opposite, crude, lazy, and openly rebellious. But there's a deep mutual respect there. They may insult each other constantly, but they understand one another better than anyone else in MI5. Both know that the agency system is broken. Both know that survival requires compromise. And both know that, deep down, they're two sides of the same coin. That's why their interactions are always electric. Lamb sees through Whelan instantly. He knows the man has no backbone. Taverner, on the other hand, earns Lamb's respect because she's ruthless enough to do what's necessary, even if he doesn't always agree with her methods. Their partnership is built on a shared understanding. MI5 needs results, not rhetoric. If Whelan represents the polished, image-obsessed face of government bureaucracy, Taverner represents its dark, efficient core. She's the part that gets things done when the higher-ups are too scared to make a move. That's what makes her such a compelling character. She's morally ambiguous, but indispensable. By the midpoint of Season 5, it's clear that Whelan's leadership has become a liability. Every decision he makes leads to more chaos, more cover-ups, and more internal fractures. MI5 under his command is a ticking time bomb, and the only thing preventing total collapse is Taverner holding it together behind the scenes. The show doesn't even try to hide this anymore. It's obvious that she's the one running the show, even if she doesn't have the official title. But here's the big question. Why hasn't she taken the top job yet? The answer might be political. MI5's leadership isn't just about skill. It's about optics. The government doesn't want someone like Taverner at the top because she can't be controlled. She's too independent, too cunning, too dangerous to their carefully managed image. So they keep promoting people like Whelan, men who smile for cameras and say the right things but have no idea how to run the agency. In many ways, that's Slow Horse's greatest critique of bureaucracy. The system rewards weakness. It values compliance over competence. And that's why the agency keeps spiraling into disaster after disaster. Still, Diana Taverner endures. She's the last line of defense between MI5 and total implosion. Her relationship with Lamb might continue to be complicated, her moral compass might stay questionable, but she's the only one with the grit to handle the job. As the season builds toward its finale, it's hard not to feel that MI5's future depends entirely on whether she finally steps up and claims the role she's been denied for too long. Because if Claude Whelan stays in power, MI5 will crumble from the inside. But if Taverner takes over, well, things might get darker. But at least they'll get done. And that's the paradox at the heart of Slow Horses. Sometimes, the most effective leaders are the ones you least want to follow. Sometimes, the villains make the best heroes. And sometimes, the only way to save the system is to break every rule that built it. So, as MI5 teeters on the edge of disaster, one thing is certain. Diana Taverner may not be the leader MI5 wants, but she's absolutely the one it needs.